Hello everyone, RetroCon here. Let me ask you a question. What do you think about the working class? Does the mere sight of them make your blood boil? Do you wish you could rule over them with an iron fist? These lazy cretins, look at them, doing nothing but producing food, maintaining infrastructure, and paying taxes. How useless. Quite frankly, it is just outright repulsive, and I personally hate the unwashed masses. Now, am I part of the nobility? Do I administer an estate or protect the feudal lords as a knight? No, not really. But I am sure that with enough groveling and begging, my most gracious king will eventually grant me these prestigious titles. But as I wait for that day to come, I will just keep practicing my lordship in one of my favorite childhood games. Oh yes, if you are a sociopath who hates peasants as much as I do, then boy do I have the game for you. Stronghold 2. At first glance, you might be tempted to think it is a game about experiencing the medieval life, a castle building simulator complete with feasts, entertainment, and jousting. But dig a little deeper and you will realize that this is a game about torturing and killing peasants. I can say with absolutely no certainty that Firefly Studios hates the working class, and this passion shows in their creative direction for this game. As a peasant, you will toil away your life until inevitably you die in one of several hundred ways. You can be mauled to death by a pack of wolves or a roaming bear. You can be speared by marauding bandits. You can accidentally wander into a pile of human feces and instantly die from the potent fumes it emits. Oh, what's that? Your children are dying of hunger due to strict food rationing and heavy taxation? Well, you better not steal any food, because the penalty for that is death, either by hanging, decapitation, or immolation. But do not worry, rehabilitation is guaranteed. Oh, looks like I'm going to war. Well, grab a pitchfork and go off to the front lines to serve as fodder for my more elite units. If you were lucky enough to not get sent to the front lines, then you will most definitely get killed by decomposing cows flung from the enemy trebuchets, or maybe by being set ablaze from a flame cart, or maybe you will just be slaughtered by the invading force. This game truly has it all. Maybe watching peasants die is not really your thing, in which case you might be more mentally sound than me. Well, I did mention earlier that this has the facade of being a castle building simulator. So, if you do not want your lord to be killed by a pack of mace-wielding brutes or a horde of angry peasants, then you have a lot of building to do. There are 3 resources you have to manage. They are popularity, honor, and the most important of all, gold. Because humans, they can reproduce as long as they are happy. They are a renewable resource. Meanwhile, gold is finite. Manage these 3 macro resources by hosting feasts and providing your peasants with bread and circus to distract them from the extremely high income tax of 100%. Look at them, they are so happy. Can you believe this game was released April 18, 2005? That would make it 17 years old. Almost old enough to fuck. Visuals look great and have held up well over the years. The UI is a bit outdated, and you can see the individual polygons if you zoom in all the way, but you won't be doing that very often. This game also offers a nice aesthetic feature, which is the ability to look inside most buildings. View your resources at a glance, watch your peasants performing their tasks, or your archers scaling those towers. The options are limitless.
Wood needed, my lord. Wood stocks are below the required level, my lord. Not a lot of wood available, really. Wood shortage, my lord. We have reports coming in of a dreadful wood shortage, sire.
It looks like I might not have enough wood in the stockpile. All I can say is that the music and sounds are varied, fantastic, and overall pleasant to listen to. As for sounds, well, the voiceovers of the characters are great. The comical way peasants talk,
do you ever get that feeling of deja vu?
Juxtaposed to the sounds of their gruesome deaths, was an interesting design choice that left deep traumatic scars in my young innocent brain. Overall, they really did a fantastic job here. When you first start up the single player mode, you will have the option to choose between the path of peace or the path of war. The path of peace offers a simpler campaign focused on economic triumph. It also plays on a single map that you steadily expand upon throughout the campaign. Free build mode is the next one, and this offers a more relaxed experience where you can grow a town without any worries of hostile forces or reaching economic objectives. There is also a hidden ability to spawn enemy camps that will attack you. Just press the F1 key. It is a fun way to test your defenses and cause general mayhem. The last option under the Path of Peace is an area for custom scenarios. These are user-created scenarios and maps, and they can range in anything between good or bad. With the Path of Peace, you can focus on the castle life. But what is peace without war? And the Path of War has a variety of options as well. Here, you have the main campaign. This campaign is much more fleshed out and features a narrative that spans multiple maps with both offensive and defensive missions. You'll be aiding the king against the combined forces of the Scottish, Vikings, and English traders. I will warn you that the story can be a bit childish, and I will elaborate on that later. Moving along, you also have Kingmaker mode, which is essentially a skirmish mode with up to 7 characters from the campaign. Each character has their own strategies and castle design, which is a nice feature. You can customize the matches by setting teams, starting gold, and starting rank. Ranks dictate what buildings you can place and troops you can spawn. You can increase your rank with honor, which grants access to more buildings and troops. Ranking up is done by clicking on the current rank, which is not entirely obvious. Select the map. You can make these yourself or download them from the various sources. The Steam edition of this game is integrated with the Steam Workshop, which is great. Anyways, once you've selected the map, you can set starting positions and start the match. The next game mode you have is Siege. In this mode, you can visit a bunch of fictitious castles based on the mythical lands of Europe and either defend them or attack them with a predetermined number of units. Next is Conquest Trail, which is pretty much like Siege, but with a narrative experience, in which you siege castles all over Europe and live out the English dream of conquering the continent. Lastly, you have custom maps. Much like the peaceful version, the idea is that you or the community can create custom scenarios and play them out. Obviously, you need a way to create these aforementioned maps and scenarios, and the game offers you that via the map editor. This map editor is surprisingly complex and lets you build custom maps to great detail. Create forests and mountain ranges, decorate them with foliage and buildings, add enemy castles as well as units. You can add a variety of passive and aggressive animals, add sound and ambience and bodies of water. You really have a ton of options here, and it is great. These custom scenarios let you add events in the form of triggers and actions. A trigger can be anything from killing an enemy lord, acquiring some number of resources, or capturing an estate. Once the trigger is activated, an action occurs. This can be an enemy invasion, a rat plague, a peasant revolt, or just setting every single building on fire. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a castle building simulator with 3 macro resources that need to be maintained. Popularity is critical to your castle economy. If it drops below 50, then peasants will no longer be generated. And when it drops further, they'll begin to leave, and I cannot run an economy by myself. The most basic way to maintain popularity is to stock up your granary with excess food, and set the rations to double. Do not worry about the lost food though, you will be making your money back. There are also penalties to popularity that come from a lack of proper waste management, pest control, and crime. Solve them by building the appropriate infrastructure. If you want to tax your peasants, and you really do, then you might benefit from entertainment in the form of jousting tournaments and fairs, as well as a church or a pub. The next resource you have to manage is honor. Honor is used to purchase units, as well as to acquire estates. Honor is generated in a variety of ways. The good news is that the church and jousting tournament previously mentioned will also generate honor periodically. The best way to earn honor early on is to stock up the granary with a variety of food types and setting the rations to double. Additionally, you can host feasts, participate in dances, punish criminals, or build statues. The last resource you need is gold. Gold is the most important. With gold, you can purchase anything: food, weapons, buildings, and of course, soldiers. You can even purchase mercenaries if you want to commit acts of terror. There are only 2 ways to acquire gold. The first is through taxation. Tax income is proportional to the amount of peasants you have, so having a large population, along with setting the taxes to their maximum, adds up to a substantial income stream. The second way is through the market. Tap into your capitalist potential and get industrializing in the medieval ages. Anything can be sold in sufficient bulk to sell for a profit. Purchase land and use that land to harvest your grains and turn it into flour. Ship the grains into your capital where you've utilized the majority of your peasants to bake it into bread. Sell that bread. Sell it by the tonnage. Who's buying it? Who cares? You now have a ton of gold, because bread is how you make that bread. Multiplayer. Ah yes, the reason I spent an inordinate amount of time playing this game back in my earlier years. In fact, the reason this video has taken so long to make is because I am addicted to this game, and I cannot stop playing it. This game had a fantastic multiplayer scene back in the day, but it is definitely not what it used to be. Matches are scarce when Europeans are asleep. Furthermore, the multiplayer screen is bugged. It does not let you join some matches. It appears that these are matches currently in progress or recently started, and for whatever reason, they persist in the menu. The only way around this is to click every room to see which ones you can connect to. As for the skirmishes themselves, if you are fortunate enough to not have anyone disconnect throughout the game, it can be a fun experience. There are a variety of players on the experience gamut, and you will memorize the regulars. Match rules are set by the community. Since there are no in-game mechanics preventing you from doing what you want, these rules are only enforced through an honor system. They are usually a set amount of peacetime or a ban on certain units or buildings. It is also worth mentioning that most people set the starting rank as the lowest one, which is the free man rank, so expect an emphasis on a particular style of gameplay. So, how do you dunk on your opponents and win matches, or hold your own coming into this game? Now, you might have played the entire campaign mode, never needing to purchase much of anything, but in multiplayer, the market is the key to your success. Multiplayer matches are wars of economies, with the winner being determined by who has the most gold to spend. I was going to write a sort of guide on how to do well in multiplayer matches, but frankly there are too many edge cases and nuances per match and map to cover this adequately. So instead, here's a general overview of what you want to be doing at each stage of the game. In Stronghold 2, you cannot win wars without using the market to its absolute limits. So in each stage of the game, you will be focusing on selling some items and buying others. Early game, you better be selling any excess food and wood to stock up your lord's kitchen and save up some gold for the jousting building. Focus on diversifying your food for the honor bonus and set up taxes for some small passive income. Mid-game, you better have a strong economy, producing whatever the map permits to sell, so you can purchase as many statues as you can fit in your estate. Get crime, sewage, and pests under control, and build a church to maximize your tax income. If there are any estates you can defend, then purchase them, and set up a farm there for more income. Late game. At this point you are building doomstacks consisting of knights, some ranged units, and a bunch of siege equipment. Catapults and ballistae are also good for attacking enemy doomstacks, so take some. Some flame carts will also be needed, as they are very good at destroying enemy doomstacks or preventing enemy flame carts from shredding you. Make sure to defend your lord from assassins, and make sure you understand areas where you might be attacked from. Try to assassinate the enemy lord if you have the honor. If not, find ways to destroy their economy. Even destroying a few buildings will tilt a stalemate in your favor. There you go, the condensed version of how to play multiplayer matches. Story. Putting it bluntly, the story is for children, and the purpose of the campaigns are more as a learning aid to master the game. In peaceful mode, you are babysitting the territories of your inept friends. Then this guy, who pretty much looks and sounds like a rat, does the unthinkable act of betraying you. What punishment befits one who betrays the crown? Was he hanged, flayed alive, or suffered some other form of body mutilation? No. The penalty for treason is humiliation in the form of being forced to dress up as a jester. I guess being a noble has its perk. The path of war is not much better. You essentially team up with your lifelong friend Lord Wallace as you help him deal with Barclay and his allies, the Scots and Vikings, attempt at usurping the crown. Towards the end of the story, you have the option to betray Wallace, your lifelong friend, and the king so you can make an attempt at the crown, or you can choose to defend the king alongside Wallace. Either way, that is the story. Conclusions. Stronghold 2 is a robust castle building simulator with 3 major resources that need to be managed. Visuals and sounds are great. Visuals might be lacking if you zoom in, but it is hardly noticeable in the grand scheme of things. Sounds are great through and through, however. With this game, you will get a complex real-time strategy game with a powerful map editor to boot, so you can easily sink in hundreds of hours on this game. Trust me, I know from experience. Multiplayer battles might be scarce, but you will definitely find games to join, especially during peak Euro hours. What do I rate
Recruits
this
needed,
game?
sire.
This game that made up a good portion of my childhood. I give it a Stronghold over 2. Yeah, that was a terrible joke. I don't care. I'm tired. Alright everyone, thanks for watching and have a beautiful day.